Hey guys, welcome to another episode of High School Songs and Memories, where I talk about songs that I heard in high school and talk about the memories it gave me for a video challenge. Now we're on day 14. I'm going to be talking about Never Too Late by 3 Days Grace. Now, this was now with a lot of high school people in the early to mid 2000s, or probably the early to 2008, I like to say. Everybody angst was more for Linkin Park. A lot of people like Linkin Park. Linkin Park. I listened to Linkin Park in elementary school. I didn't gravitate towards the lyrics. I wasn't that angsty person yet. Uh, First song I heard by Linkin Park was "Breaking the Habit," but it didn't really gravitate towards me. I mean, I like Linkin Park, but they in high school they weren't my go-to. My go-to was the Canadian band 3 Days Grace. They were right there in my angsty teen time. And it was them and Billy Talent, but 3 Days Grace prevailed for that because oh God, 3 Days Grace, and especially when it came out, like I knew about 3 Days Grace earlier, but when I really got into them was during the 1X era, because it was when I was in grade 9 and 10, and I was just in it. I was just into 3 Days Grace. Though I didn't hear any of their albums. It was just I was more of a single guy with 3 Days Grace, and right now I want to figure out where 1X by 3 Days Grace is, because anytime I go to the music store, I can't find it anywhere. I can't find 3 Days Grace's 1X anywhere. And the song, Animal I Become and Pain, were songs that actually pretty much got to me. Like, I was so angry, and that song, and those two songs just got me. Even I Hate Everything About You, which even then I knew the lyrics were a bit wonky, like a little bit, like a little too much. But even then, I'm just gonna rock it out because the instrumentation is good. But Never Too Late. It didn't fit the repertoire of my angsty. It kind of fit my repertoire to my angsty self, but it was more along the lines of, okay, this is a tiny bit less angry. In my opinion, it was a tiny bit less angry, but I'm like, yeah, this is actually a really good thing I'm hearing right now, and it's like, yeah, this is actually really good, like, because it started with acoustic. I think it started off really soft, and then it just goes, everything's mine, it'll be alright, and I'm just going at it because I just it would have been boring if it was just anger all the time, like cold hard rock anger, and then when it just starts, it just goes soft, and then it just bursts into this rock guitar, and then the electric guitar is still there, the electric instrumentation is still there, but it still keeps an even tone, like a bit soft tone, and then it just goes into rock mode. It just rocks out whenever the chorus hits, and I'm like, oh God, this is so good. And I kept listening to the song. I kept paying attention to the song every time it was on the radio or on Much Music, and I'm like, oh God, I love this song. And I downloaded it on my MP3, and just blaring it at full volume. That was pretty much me. Again, everybody had Linkin Park. I had 3 Days Grace, and probably so did a lot of other people. They weren't. Here's the thing: 3 Days Grace, as I'm hearing about it right now, or talk about it right now. When I was in high school, we were all into that emo territory, like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, and as much as I did like those bands, and I liked them a lot, I was just more into 3 Days Grace because they weren't emo, well, but they were just hard rock with a lot of they had emotional lyrics, sure, but they were more hard rock and post grunge. I like to say. I don't know if they are post grunge, but to me they were just the right amount. People listen to 3 Days Grace, sure, but it was just it just got to me. Like Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco had their emotional moments, but they were quirky. They had that quirk about them, which I do like. It's just that at that moment of time in high school, I just needed something a little bit more angrier, and it wasn't until later on with Alice in Chains' "Them Bones," which I have talked about. Uh, "Them Bones" by Alice in Chains came later because I just needed that. If Alice in Chains came later or no, came earlier around the time I heard Three Days Grace during their 1X period, it would have been heaven for me, honestly, because "Them Bones" sounded angry and dark, but I didn't hear about them or that song until 2 years later. And I'm like, oh god, if that actually happened, I was like, oh god, this is actually really good. But 3 Days Grace was there. Like they didn't have any quirks. They were just really dark and really rocking, and they were just so like into what they're doing, and it's like, my god, this is actually really good. This is actually a really good song. I I can't believe something like this is actually going on. And Never Too Late is like, oh, this is actually just so good for me. It's just like filling like the anger or the angst. It's giving me like the song is giving me more for my angst. Like it's talking about. It's just at the time I just didn't really care about the lyrics. I heard the lyrics, but I'm like, okay, I just want to hear the chorus and I just want to hear it. Like I love the entire song, but even back then I'm like, just give me the whole song. The lyrics are just great. The song is just great. What I'm listening to is just I'm just into it. I'm just going for it. And yeah, that is hell, even like as recently as a month ago, I just felt I just felt the emotional impact that the song Never Too Late was. Like I listened to Pain and Never Too Late for like 20 minutes while my Halo game was installing on my Xbox One, and I'm like, okay, I'll listen to this, and I'm like, oh my god, I just feel the heavy impact. I'm just feeling it, and I'm like, all right, this is cool. And so, yeah, thanks 3 Days Grace for helping me in my angsty period, which is pretty much 60% of my high school life. And so, yeah, that's pretty much good. And so that's another episode of the High School Songs and Memories, and I'll see you another time. Thank you.